Hey guys, I'm Dāv Kaufman. So last season on HerpersTV, we talked a little bit about celebrity herpers, people whose contribution to herpetoculture is so great that, well, virtually everybody knows their name, but what about the herps themselves? What do you guys think is the most famous herp ever bred in a private collection? You said the Stormtrooper, right? Well, I agree. So right now, I'm on my way down to the Cedar Rapids area in Iowa to go meet with John and Tiffany Dague at JD Constriction. And I just got off the phone with John, and he told me that HerpersTV is the first to actually go and visit JD Constriction's facility. And so here it is, the exclusive story of the Stormtrooper on Zilla Presents HerpersTV episodes.
I'm a herper, herper, herper. I'm a herper, I'm a herper.
I am John Dague, and this is
Tiffany Dague.
And we own JD Constriction, and I have had JD Constriction since 2008, and actually have been working with ball pythons and Axanthics since 2003.
John and I met a little over 5 years ago, and actually we started our conversation about his tattoos, which are related to the snakes, and I was very intrigued, and that started our crazy love affair, so I've been a dedicated follower ever since.
So one of the fun things about Axanthics, I'll say, is that when they hatch, you really don't exactly know what you have. A lot of the pigment comes in later in animals and develops over time. So with this particular animal, pewters come out looking almost Axanthic in and of themselves. So the really cool thing for me was this animal came out with a little paradoxical spot on the side that was basically Axanthic. It looked like an Axanthic pattern, it looked like Axanthic coloration. So for me, that was kind of the check mark that helped me understand that, yeah, this indeed was an Axanthic pewter. So this is a fun comparison between a fire Axanthic and a regular Axanthic. A lot of people don't understand the differences between the two. They think fire makes it brighter, which it does, but how apparent it is and how blatantly obvious it is in the hatchlings, and what makes them look even better is the fire, while as it ages, it brightens and get better looking over time. Axanthics, like a lot of other morphs, tend to darken. So the fire is a perfect complement to Axanthic in that as it ages, it's going to hold that color and look ultimately really, really awesome as an adult. So here we have another cool combination pairing. So this is a yellow belly Axanthic, which just really brightens up the Axanthic a little bit from its regular coloration, gives it a neat little pattern. Of course, the speckling typical with yellow bellies on the side. That compared to then a fire yellow belly Axanthic. So this is really neat because of how bright it is, and this really awesome head spot that showed up that I didn't even know was part of the combo, that now every fire yellow belly Axanthic I've hatched so far this year has had that like almost white little dot in the middle of their head. So another new combo for us this year that's been really one I really think is cool is GHI Axanthics. We started with a GHI male a few years ago that was also Posset Clown, and ended up, of course, breeding him to Axanthic, holding back some animals, and breeding a male GHI het Axanthic that we produced to a few Axanthic animals to see what some of the combos would look like with the Snakekeeper line. And we did end up hatching a few GHI Axanthics this year, as well as a pastel GHI Axanthic that are really cool. So this guy right here is a pastel GHI Axanthic, and this one over here is a regular just GHI mixed with Axanthic. I have a non-atypical story of how I got into snakes. A good friend of mine had a pet sand boa, and I was terrified of snakes. So he took me down to a pet store, and lo and behold, they'd cut him a deal if he got 3 ball pythons instead of 2. He only wanted 2, so I ended up somehow with the 3rd, thinking I would get over my fear. Well, after I got my first ball python, I started looking at all the morphs and different combinations, and this is in 2003, mind you, and Axanthics just really spoke to me. Looked like something that I thought was completely awesome. The silver, the black, how cool they were. So that was what attracted me to it at first. I think that with all the different morphs and all the different options out there, we're going to start seeing breeders be very focal in the genetics that they work with. For instance, we work with Axanthic and focus every single breeding, every single pairing, every single other gene we have into breeding into Axanthic. And I think that's going to start catching on just because it's so hard with all the genetics out there to do everything. You just can't. But can a hobby breeder pick a gene and work it to be really impressive and make awesome animals? Absolutely.
I think a lot of it is about being selective. Everything we bring in is designed to go with Axanthic, and it doesn't come into the collection. One, we don't like the gene, and two, we don't think it's going to look good with Axanthic, and that particular animal is not high quality. And the animals that we hold back are also high quality because we want our animals to look spectacular. We do want them to dazzle.
So I guess I would say we're a little unique from some other breeders in that, I mean, we both maintain full-time day jobs. This is and probably always will be a hobby business for us, something that we aren't going to do full-time just because we have good day jobs that we're really happy with. That being said, we keep about 60 breeder females. We keep around 48 holdbacks and breeder males, and then produce about 150 to 250 babies a year. So we're very picky about, again, the breedings that we do, the pairings, what we hold back, and we also unfortunately have to let really good animals go at the end of some seasons as we have holdbacks that are coming up to replace them. Every single animal here at JD Constriction that's produced or that we get in has a unique identifier, and we track that identifier all throughout the animal's life. So if you buy an animal from us, or we go and look at an animal that we've had now for 5 or 6 years, we're able to tell just by looking at that ID number that goes with the animal what clutch it was from, what year it hatched, what its siblings were. We can bring up that information. We keep all that data electronically just to help us manage our collection, and also trying to understand, right, these genetics that are popping up, we're able to trace that back and understand which one came from where and all that type of stuff. Another thing that was a first for us a few years ago that's been really, really popular, we've been working into almost everything in our collection, is Firefly mixed with Axanthic. This guy on the right is the Firefly yellow belly Axanthic. So that's fire, pastel, and yellow belly all mixed with Axanthic. Then this guy on the left is just a beautiful example, probably one of the nicest ones I've hatched, of a Firefly Axanthic. So these next three animals are, one's for sure an Axanthic, and the other two, I'll show you why I'm kind of dumbfounded a little bit exactly what I have, but I believe that I have a pewter coral glow Axanthic, and I definitely have a cinnamon Axanthic. This is the one I for sure know is a cinnamon Axanthic, and that's a first for us here. Turned out really cool. A very interesting animal and very cool in Axanthic form. So these two are for sure pewter coral glows. And I believe this animal in my right hand, based on the coloration, how light it is, it's actually even in shed right now, is the Axanthic version of it. You can see how the regular pewter coral glow, or what I believe is a regular pewter coral glow, has just overall more pigment, more kind of orange and yellow coloration, versus the what I believe to be Axanthic coral glow. Doesn't look a ton different, but actually is kind of more a white or creamish color, lacking a lot of that saturation in its color palette. So another thing that we've been working with here at JD Constriction that I think's really cool and really, really awesome when mixed with Axanthic is leopard. Basically with Axanthic, I try and mix it in with whatever pattern combinations there are out there, and leopard is such an extreme pattern variation that I think it just goes extremely well with Axanthic. And this year we were lucky enough to hit on a fire leopard Axanthic. So another gene that works really well with Axanthic that I think makes it look really clean, really high contrast, and also really helps it hold its coloration into adulthood is spider. And so what we've done is mixed a multitude of different codom genes as well as spider into Axanthic, basically going for the brightest silver and highest contrast, or either that stark black and white look. So this guy is just a regular bee, or what they were originally called zebra bee Axanthic. So that's pastel, spider, and Axanthic. And from there we basically add other genes to make it a cleaner look and to brighten up that silver whitish coloration on the back and sides, while trying to hold that black contrast to give it that really neat look and pattern and in coloration as an adult. So this is a killer bee Axanthic that has a slight chance of having Enchi. I'm not sure if she's got it or not. So this guy is a fire spider Axanthic. Fire really brightens up the spider Axanthics and makes them almost whitish silver through their coloration. Extremely bright and high contrast. Then this is a fire pastel yellow belly spider. So it's a fire bee yellow belly spider Axanthic. So the Stormtrooper, the story of the Stormtrooper, I've told this a couple times, and sometimes I think people don't believe me, but there really is no secrets. I still am not 100% certain what is in that animal. We ended up breeding two possible sires, two males, to a pastel Axanthic female that I had gotten in, and ended up getting a clutch of animals that very much so looked like the sire was a leopard het Axanthic that I had produced. The only other male that was in with that female was a pastel double het Axanthic clown male that I also produced. But the other animals in the clutch had leopard in them, and I had a pastel leopard Axanthic in there, for instance, and whatnot. So out of that clutch hatched a pastel Axanthic female that was just a really nice example of a pastel Axanthic. So we had early on identified it as a holdback just to how nice it looked. And then as it started to age, it started to get brighter and brighter. The white / gray started to become more stark white as it aged. The blushing on the head got more and more extreme as it aged. And as it went through each shed cycle, it just seemed to get brighter and brighter till you see that animal that I had posted some pictures of on my webpage that is basically stark black and white. Well, then that very same animal over the next several months started changing to go darker, and that's where you see the animal you basically have today that has just progressively gotten darker and darker and darker, which also in some of the other shots that we have shows that we have other genes when you mix pastel and Axanthic together and then marry that up. Occasionally we do see animals that get darker over time for some very strange reason, and that's basically what happened, I believe, to the Stormtrooper as well. So it's not just one thing going on, it's two things. The darkening that we've seen here before, but that stark black and white that happened initially, we're honestly still trying to figure that out.
This is definitely one of my favorite snakes. We have some really cool animals, and although this one gets a lot of publicity and a lot of people are really intrigued by it, I do agree that it's a really cool animal. But I know that we have a lot of potential in the collection. So there's a lot of animals that I would probably favor, I would say. So like if I come in here and I come into this room and I want to open a drawer that I really like an animal, it might be a little different than what John would look at.
Yep.
One of those animals that John likes to look at is definitely the Stormtrooper.
So another gene that we're working with here at JD Constriction, or we're hoping proves to be a gene, is what we're calling Vader. So it was a really extremely dark, almost black Axanthic looking Axanthic female that we brought into our collection, and we proved her compatible with Snakekeeper line Axanthic this year and are holding back some of the babies to see if they get really, really dark like mom. So now we have Vader and the Stormtrooper together. As far as future projects and what we're wanting to do, I would say from a size perspective, we're not looking to get any bigger, so we're just trying to make the most of the space that we do have and the number of animals we want to keep. I am absolutely in love with double recessive projects. I would say the one that I'm most excited about is our prospects for Axanthic clown combos. So one thing that I've started to notice as I've hatched more and more double het Axanthic clown things is they are very obviously better looking animals than their regular Codom counterparts, even though visually they're not supposed to have anything different from a phenotype perspective. Their genotype's different, and I think it's showing through. This left animal is a really nice example of a firefly that's just had Axanthic. And the animal on the right, although it looks amazing and slightly different and better, it has nothing else genetically going on beyond firefly from a visual perspective, but it is a firefly double het for Axanthic and clown. And in the head pattern, not only is it slightly lighter, but also the eye stripes connect behind the head, so you get this little bit of an arrow. That is fairly consistent in all of our animals that have firefly and are also double het for Axanthic clown. So then compare that to the regular firefly het Axanthic. And again, I've seen this consistency. The eye stripes do not touch the neck stripe behind the head. Only when there's het clown involved on top of Axanthic do I end up seeing that connection between the two. As far as future projects, it's transitioning over to basically mixing other recessive genes into Axanthic and working towards those really long odds, low probability combos that I think people are going to love.
So I think that the future of the ball python hobby and the market associated with it is going to shift focus here in the future. I think that breeders are going to start to shift focus away from wanting to produce the world's first or wanting to produce as many morphs as they possibly can in their collection to being more focus oriented by gene, like John and Tiffany are. So I know that we haven't even begun to hit the tip of the iceberg with all the available color and pattern morphs that we can do with ball pythons. And if more breeders start to get focus oriented and get to be known for working with a very specific gene, that is what's going to strengthen this hobby, and that's what's going to strengthen this market. So if you agree with that or disagree with that, comment below. Also hit that subscribe button, and we will see you here next time for more awesome reptile videos at Herpers TV.